All right, we are live. Hello, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Chris. This is my channel, Bar911970, and I hope you guys are enjoying your day. I have a video that I'd like to share with you because when I get an epiphany, and I just had one, I like to share it with others so it may help them or somebody they love. So one thing that I always recommend is if you like the information, hitting the like button and sharing will really help, but sit through this because there is always a method to my madness, even if you're not sure or it doesn't seem like it's making sense in the beginning. And you're going to hear one of my cats meowing in the background. Alright, and it actually has to do with him, so I find this quite interesting. So he wants to be a part of this. So if you hear it, I apologize. Okay, so the cat you just heard meowing is one of 3 cats that we have. They're all strays. When we moved to Florida, one of the outside cats had kittens, and we took one in and we named him Buddy. He just, of the 3 kittens that were out there, he was always just paying attention to me and would sit on the stoop and play games, and he won our hearts, and we took him in, and we're still taking care of the outside cats and everything, doing the best that we can. We've had him now since about December of 2019, so he's still relatively young, not even a year old yet. And Tuesday night, around 10 o'clock, it ended up, I didn't shut the front door completely all the way, and it ended up, the door opened and we didn't know it, and he got out. Now, he hasn't been outside since we found him when he was about 2 or 3 months old. So he was in unfamiliar territory. There are stray cats around here all the places. He ended up ultimately going underneath our house, under the crawl space, where we couldn't get to him. This happened again, like I said, it happened roughly around 10:30 Tuesday night. Now, my wife has to work in the morning. I don't have any jobs because of the shutdown. So I went outside to try and get him. We couldn't get him. He didn't want to come near us. He started becoming very wild. If you have a stray cat and they ended up getting outside, they will resort back to their primal instincts and become very wild. And what happened was he wouldn't go near us, and he was definitely getting very wild. Now, like I said, you'll understand the whole situation when you listen to this story because it has a purpose. So, after about 2 hours of sitting outside trying to coax him towards us, he wants to go out so bad right now. I finally managed to trick him out and try and get him back into the house. But because he was all so wild from smelling all the other cats and everything, he ended up slicing my arms, slicing my stomach, and doing some damage, and escaped and got back underneath into the crawl space. So my wife at that point, she had to go to sleep because she had to work the next day. So I ended up staying up all night, literally, trying to coax him out. During this process of hour upon hour of getting no sleep, sitting in the backyard trying to coax the cat, I got very angry. I got very frustrated. I started saying to myself out loud how much I hated him, and, one more hour and I'm going to leave him, and all these other almost like nasty things, like things it should not be part of me. Then I started, after 9 or 10 hours of being out there, and you get sleep deprivation, I started getting upset with myself and started getting angry with myself. I was up all night from 10 o'clock until basically my wife around 10 o'clock in the morning came out and told me to go to sleep. We still haven't gotten him yet. No matter what I could do, he wouldn't come out. And especially after that time, within the first hour and a half to 2 hours when I caught him and he got away, he wasn't trusting me at all. So I tried to get some sleep but couldn't fall asleep. I slept for maybe an hour, but I was obsessed with trying to get him out because I want him to be safe. And it frustrated me that I said all those nasty things and couldn't understand it when I'm supposed to be a loving, caring person. Ultimately, around 3 or 4 in the afternoon, I finally coaxed him out got hold of him, put a blanket around him so he was okay, and he did his slicing me up, so I have plenty of scratches, but I managed to get him inside. Now, let's go to 15 minutes ago. And I apologize for the cat. He wants to get out and we can't because my wife's working and she's working online with customers. That's why he's in here and meowing, because he wants to get out. But I said I started watching this video about Russell Brand talking with Eckhart Tolle. And he started talking about the ego. And if you want to watch it, just type in Russell Brand's channel and you'll see it. But I had an epiphany, because he was talking about what the ego wants and how it identifies with self and how you have to rise above it and how you learn from mistakes and learn from situations. The part of me keeps telling people, and I believe myself through my actions, of course, that I'm a loving, caring person. But yet, I was cursing at the cat. I was frustrated. I was ready to give up. But I didn't. And I even said that to myself last night. I knew I was just, sometimes you say things about people you love when they cause you a lot of pain or they're in dangerous situations that you can't get them out of. Frustration takes over and you say things you don't mean. Well, my heart was saying, well, if you don't stay out all night and get no sleep for things you hate, so you don't really mean it, you're just saying it because you're sitting outside by yourself for hours, you're not getting any sleep, morning is rising, you're frustrated. But then when I was watching the Russell Brand, and forgive me if I say his name wrong, but Eckhart Tolle, who is basically a philosopher, very smart individual, it hit me that the ego needs to be relevant. It doesn't like rising above it. In other words, your ego wants you in the lower vibrational levels because it has more control. And the higher you rise your vibration, the less your ego can affect you. And my soul was having a battle with my ego last night. Didn't realize it, didn't think of it. Because the ego was trying to say hateful things. Trying to say, all right, I'll wait another 15 minutes. If it doesn't happen, then screw him. He'll be an outside cat. There's nothing I can do about it. He won't come. Just leave him be. So what did I learn from this? I was being tested because it would have been easy to give up. It would have been easy to be frustrating and just let him end up saying, well, he wants to be outside, let him be outside. And I had to wait all night and half the day, getting no sleep, not eating, completely covered in dirt, because I kept trying to crawl under, breathing God knows what from underneath the house. That despite how hard it was, despite I had to do it myself, despite the cat did not want to be taken because of all the male hormones of other cats, which, by the way, a couple of the male cats went underneath and he started fighting with them. So he's got all the male cat sense and he's got that wildness back into him. Was clawing at me, not once but twice, and shred me up pretty good. That even though it would have been easier to walk away, I stuck through it to the end and did not give up. In other words, I didn't listen to my ego where it said, basically in a nutshell, it's easier to just give up. And I kept saying to myself before all this situation happened, why do things happen like this? Why do good people have to have these situations? And I was even thinking about I was cursing God, saying, why would you let this happen to this animal? When I know when it's with me, it's safer. And it wasn't about the animal. It wasn't about any of that. It was about learning that your love can be stronger than what is convenient. And sometimes in life, it's a test to see if you can get to that point. And many people fail that test, including myself, on many occasions, because we don't, like what I like to say, understand the situation because we're caught in the moment. But when I look at it that way, that was literally my ego trying to save itself by being relevant, by making me angry, by cursing out the cat, by cursing out myself, by cursing out God, being frustrated, ready to give up. But my love for the animal, in other words, empathy and sympathy, was stronger, and I didn't give up. And ultimately, the cat is back in the house, and he's not meowing anymore. But my other cat's trying his claw through the door as well. So I apologize for all the noise. So what I'm trying to say is, the ego is a part of you. Some parts of it is necessary, but other parts, it doesn't always take you to the best place because it's a love of oneself instead of love of others. And it needs you in a lower vibrational level to survive and thrive. That's where your lust comes in, your vanity comes in, your anger comes in. Love transcends that. Love separates you from the ego, where you care about more than yourself and you care about others. And as frustrating as the other day was, and I wish and hope I never have to go through that again, especially for his sake, because he didn't know any better. Now that I look at it for what it truly was, I understand, or like what I always say, understand why I had to go through that. Because it was a test. Are you willing to do everything that you say you're about? Because I could have easily went to bed, walked away, gave up. But I didn't. I couldn't, and I didn't want to. So no matter how frustrating my ego was making me feel, no matter how angry my ego was making me feel to keep me at that lower vibrational level, I ended up ultimately not listening, rising above it, and brought that animal back in to be taken care of and loved, kept safe. So in this world, you will be tested. Most people will never know what the tests are. And your ego is going to try and keep you negative, frustrated, depressed, lonely. Bad things are going to happen that will frustrate you, take you out of your normal character. But if you can rise above it and see it for what it truly is, the ego is going to fight for its survival just like you would fight for your survival if you're drowning. You're going to do all you can to stay above the water. The ego is a part of you that is the same way. It wants you angry because it thrives off it. The ego wants you sad. It thrives off it. The ego wants you cursing the world and hating others and division. For whatever reason, the ego thrives off of that. So if the ego thrives off of negativity and loses its power as you rise above, it makes sense that the ego would fight for its life to keep its power over you and do anything to make that happen. Because I was ready to do a very awakening scenario, some meditation and things like that before that happened. But the ego said, nope, we're going to change that plan. So not only was I up all night and frustrated and full of dirt and smelling because I was in the hot sun at first, and then all night, and then in the morning, I literally for 2.5 hours in the morning when the sun rose, I was being pelted with little gnats, and I was at the point where I was really wanting to just give up, but I wouldn't do it. But now I understand what that was all about. And even though he sounds like he's not happy right now, he's just in a room that he doesn't want to be in because he's a little spoiled. But my point is, when you finally pass that test, you will graduate to the next level. And when I understood what happened that night and why it happened, looking at it now, it almost choked me up inside. So I'm like, oh, that's it? It was the test. Will you let ego bring you back down? Or will you rise above and let love be the priority? And as soon as I saw that, I wanted to share it with you. So the next time you're in a bad situation, where you're cursing the world, cursing God, cursing yourself, think about the scenario and think about why you're doing what you're doing. Is it helping somebody else? Is it saving somebody else? If you can understand that you're trying to free yourself from the ego to rise above, and it's necessary, and the ego will fight you, and you understand your purpose, you will always go in the right direction. So again, I apologize for the loud of the screaming of the cat, but that's probably my test of my love. You will be tested. So don't ever give up. Don't be frustrated, because animals especially, they don't know any better. We do. They're not burdened with ego. And one of the things that animals do for the most part is bring us joy, because that's why they're here. So be good to one another, be good to yourself, and when you have a frustrating challenge that you want to end yourself, end the world, curse God, whatever, sit back and think about why you're doing what you're doing, and is it worth what you're doing? It was worth it for me to lose a complete day of 24 hours of basically being up with 1 hour sleep at one point, or trying to anyway, and getting scratched up and sliced open and bleeding and sweating and dirt all over me, because I helped save that animal, and I do it again. So hopefully you will see that if you want to awaken from your ego, you have to rise above. And if you understand that ego is going to try and keep you down, if you let it win, then you'll stay forever where you don't want to be. So I hope this helps anybody that listens going through those tough times. Don't ever beat yourself up, because that's your ego talking. That's the vanity. Understand why you're doing what you're doing. And if love is why you're doing something, then it is never wrong, even if at the moment it seems like it is. So thanks for listening. I hope you will share and thumb up this video if you appreciate it. YouTube will automatically flag this video, so out of my 47,000 subscribers, probably 300 will see it at most. Right now 17 people are watching, so if you can share it, it's appreciated. And Grandma Kim, I want to thank you for being a Patreon supporter. I only have maybe 4 or 5 Patreon supporters, but I appreciate you and anybody that does. I have a link in the live show and in the description of every video if anybody ever wanted to contribute, because I've been out of work for 3.5 months, but it doesn't stop me. I don't ever use excuses to keep me down, and I want to thank everybody for listening. So thank you so much, everybody. I hope you have a happy and safe 4th of July no matter what you do, and just let love reign and watch the goodness that happens. Understand yourself, because if you could separate the two, it will make you be proud that when the ego tried to keep you down, when the ego tried to have you walk away, when the ego tried to beat yourself up, you ignored it and did the right thing. And that's how you win. Thanks for listening, and have a great night.